Hello guys, welcome to Hyperledger Composer Development Series. Now in the last video we had started our local instance of our playground. So in this video, before moving ahead, I wanted to introduce you to few terminologies which we'll be using quite often in future. So let's go ahead and define these terminologies. So I go to this and I go to introduction. Okay, so basically, yeah, so if you can see this. So before going ahead, wanted to define few terms and what is a business network? So at a high level, a business network is a group of entities who work together to accomplish certain goals. Now, in order to achieve these goals, there must be an agreement among the members of the business network regarding the goods and services that are exchanged. Now, how the exchange is to take place, that includes business rules, governing payments and penalties. Now, which members within the group is allowed to participate and when. So, this is what is your business network. So, when we talk with respect to business network, with respect to Hyperledger Composer, so it consists of a model file over here that you can see with an extension .cto. Now, this is typically created by business analysts to define domain data model for the business network. Now, it contains assets, participants, and transactions. Now, this data model is expressed using the composer modeling language, which defines the structure of the resources which are to be stored on the ledger or can be processed as transactions. Now, an asset can be anything that can be exchanged between parties in a business agreement. Examples of assets could be your stocks, house, fruits, bananas, you just name it. If it has a perceived value and can be exchanged between parties, then it's an asset. Now, a participant is a member of a business network. Now, for example, we'll be going through a tutorial in which we'll be taking on commodities trading network. So, in a commodities trading network, who is the participant? Participant is your traders. So, participant is pretty simple. And when we come on to the transaction, so this model file contains asset, participant, and transactions. And we'll see in a while that how we create a model file. Now, in transactions, what is the transaction? Now, when an asset is touched, that is, if the state of an asset changes, then this interaction is called a transaction. Now, for example, there is a commodity called gold, and this is an asset and it belongs to trader A. And when it is exchanged with trader B, then the state of this asset is, in our case, which is gold, changes. So that constitutes of a transaction. Now, this also has a script file. Now, this script file, it has an extension of .js. Now, it contains transaction function, which means that it's a business logic for state change of an asset. Now, this basically is the smart contract, and once the domain model is in place, developers can capture or write the business logic as smart contracts and as executable transaction and processor functions, which is written in JavaScript. So this is the script file has your logic, your business logic, as when the transaction will, how the transaction is going to be executed. Now, another file that it contains is access control file. It has an extension of .acl, and in a business network, not all participant has access to everything. So developer or technical analyst can define the access control rules for the business network to enforce which participants have access to the data on the ledger and under which condition. Now, another file is can be this query file with an extension .qry. Now, here you could define query definition to retrieve or interact with the chain. Now, you can package all of these, the models file, the script file, and the access control rules into a deployable business network and archive it and use command line tools to deploy the archive to a runtime for testing and which can be tested, which can be deployed on your cloud or local instance, or it can also be deployed on your web server online using Node.js. Now, so I hope this clarifies some of the jargons that we'll be using in future in our development series. So let's play around with Hyperledger Composer, which we had started. So this is what it is. Before we go ahead and play with this Composer Playground, let me show you what is a model, what I was talking about. There is an example tutorial here, which I will be using it in my tutorial. And let me see developer tutorial, and I'm going to define what is a model file. Okay, so this is what I was talking about. So we saw that the model file, there are three types of things that we are going to define in our model file, and this is the code for the model file, which is your Hyperledger modeling language. Now, the three types of things that we define in our model file are asset, participants, and transaction. So assets are things that are going to be manipulated. Uh, and participants are actors who are going to do the manipulation, and transactions are actual verbs that are going to be performed. So this is our model file, and so now in our case, because we're trying to develop this, use this example, and which is a commodities trading network. So our asset is a commodity, and which is identified by a primary key, which is in this case is a trading symbol, and uh, this is the syntax here is your little o and your data type and your trading symbol. And we also define description, which is in every asset, I mean every commodities in like a stock description, you have commodity description here, which will define and on what exchange this is trading on. So we have to define that, and also the quantity. And so these quantity you define in double, little o, and you have a trader. I mean, this asset is actually owned by whom? The trader with name owner. So this is like a foreign key, and this is defined by an arrow. So okay, so the second thing is your participants. So who is the participant here? Participant is a trader who is identified by a trade ID. So this is your identification like a primary key. And again, the syntax is same, little o string trade ID. So every trader has a trade ID. And also we give them a first name and a last name. So now coming on to what, let's define the transaction. A transaction which is a trade, and we have a commodity which is an asset, and we define it by commodity, we call it commodity, and this is a foreign key, and like a foreign key. New owner means obviously when a transaction, when you want to define a transaction, so when the commodity is exchanged from the current owner to the new owner, so then a trade is made. So that's why we have defined as a new owner as foreign key. So this is what is there in your models file, and I hope you have understood this. Okay, so having defined the model, so now let's look at how we will define the logic of the transaction. And for that, we'll be using the syntax of JavaScript. So let's go ahead. Okay, so this is what it is. This is your code for uh, transaction logic, and we'll be using the syntax of JavaScript. So the first thing first is we need to define a function which is going to be a trade commodity. That is, we are going to trade that commodity, and this is going to take in an input trade that we are going to carry out. Now, in Composer, we have to define what this trade is, so that business logic can be built on top of it. So for that, we define at param and org.example.mynetwork. And if you see here, so this is what it is, and which is there in the namespace org.example.mynetwork. So this is the syntax for this, and we also, this trade over here is actually taken from, so transaction trade. So this is the input for this trade. Okay, the trade which we have defined here. So this is a syntax which you have to define. We also have to give this name, trade, which is the same as this, and uh, this. We also have to mark this add transaction so that our composer knows that this is the transaction that we are going to carry out. So this is the syntax for which is important. Then also you have to give the description, the trade to be processed. So this is a trade which needs to be processed. So this is these are function annotations, and if you do not know them, just know that it has special meaning for compilers. Now, within the function, essentially, what we are going to do is we are going to change the owner of the commodity that belongs to, we are going to change the owner of this commodity that belongs to this trade to a new owner. Now, so this changes the local variable that is passed to this function. Now, next thing that we want to do is now we want to get the registry that handles all these assets, and we want to tell that registry to update this commodity. So this is the syntax for this. Let asset registry and get asset registry, and uh, this is your namespace that remember that we have used dot commodity. Now this is where we need to update the registry with the new owner, with the new the state of the commodity. So this is now if you see like because we want to do this asynchronously, so we are using await keyword, and therefore we define the function with async function. Now just wanted to let you know all this. So this tutorial is not to get you learn to make you learn JavaScript or the syntax too much. It's just an introduction, so that you get started. Probably have more videos coming out where we're going to deal with it in more detail, and you have to look out for that. And please click on the bell icon and be subscribed, so you will be notified as soon as those are out. But for as for this part, I'm just trying to get you started so that you get started as soon as possible. Now, next thing we'll talk about is the adding access control. Now, access control, this is a dummy network that we are going to take. So therefore, if you see, this is the syntax in JSON, and mm, this is just that we have given all participants, any participants, all the accesses. So this is just for that. So this is pretty simple. Okay, so now let's go ahead and work with our Composer Playground. Now, okay, so in order to start our Composer Playground, recall that in last video I had issued a command called Composer Playground, that is Composer Playground over here, and which started a server which is going to enable us to work with the Hyperledger Fabric environment through the Composer front end. So if you see, the composer is listening on our port 8080, and so when the composer starts, this is the screen that you are going to see. You can read the description over here, and let's blockchain. Okay, so the first thing we want to create is a new business network, but and here you will see that it's an empty business card. So we want to create a new business network over here, and so let's click on deploy a new business network. Okay, so we get this. So we have to give a name to our new business network that we want to set, and you can give description if you want to, and your email ID for your admin card creation. So let's give it a name, and the name could be, let's use it as, let's leave it as basic sample network, or you can say tutorial sample network. Uh, Tutorial sample network, and yeah, so we can leave the admin tutorials. Okay, this we can give it anything, it does not have to be a valid one. Admin at the rate, tutorial sample network. And yeah, so it doesn't have to be a valid one. It just so we have to create an empty business network, and you can see that there are a lot of few uh, template that we can always use. So we can always use that. So let's create this empty business network. So we want to deploy this we have created so our business. Okay, so now you can see um, that we have created a new business network with the label admin tutorial and dash sample network with your user ID as admin, and your business network is called tutorial sample network. So we want to connect with this business network. So let's click on this, and this will be okay. So our this is what you get when you connect. And so this is the model file that we need to define. This is a script. This is the access control dot acl dot cto dot this dot acl, and we need to define here, and then we can manipulate with the data and test over here. So first let's go ahead and define it. So we'll go back to our this, and we just need to copy paste, and let us define this. Copy. All right, and go to our this. So we are defining our models file. We copied from a models file, and we just need to replace all this and paste it. Okay, so it says everything looks good. Now let's go and replace the script file. So we go here and we go down. This is our logic.js script that we discussed. So let's go ahead and copy this. We have copied this, and so replace that with paste it over here. Okay, so everything looks good again. Now the access control that I had defined last time also that is over here. Go down and copy this and replace this. Okay, and paste it. Okay, so you see that everything looks good. Now, so we have defined our model file, script file, and access control. Now we need to test it. And okay, so after you have defined everything, now click on deploy changes, and you should get a message. Okay, you should get a message that changes have been deployed. So this is our definition that we have defined our model file, script file, and access control also, which I pasted. Now we should be testing ours after we have defined the models file, the script file, and the access control file. Let's go and test this. And as you can see, you have trader here. So just put the trader and create new participant. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our playground tutorial. Okay, so go to the playground tutorial, and we're just going to copy that. Okay, so you can go over here also to get a hang of what is a playground. And yeah, so we are going to copy this. This is the, and you copy this and create new participant and just paste this. Okay, so we have a trader one. Name is, first name is Jenny and last name is Jones. So create new. So our first trader is created. Now let's create second trader. So we're going to go back to this, and this is our second trader. Okay, and we have copied it, and again create, just see that it's selected over here, and create new participant and just paste it again and create new. So our two traders have been created, trader 1 and trader 2. So we have created the participant. Now let's go ahead and create the commodity. So this is the commodity part. So create new asset. So we need to create an asset. So obviously we'll go back again. We'll go back and yeah. So we're going to go back and we're going to, sorry, we are going to go back and copy this. This is it. And create new asset. This is one of the asset and paste it. So as you can see, this is the commodity ABC and description is test commodity, main exchange is Euronext, quantity 72.297 and so we'll go ahead and create new. Now so we have created our participant trader 1, trader 2 and we have commodity ABC and then you want to show you this. Okay, so this is blockchain for you. Whatever we have done till now is being recorded over here. So you know what we added participant, we added assets. So everything that happened since the start is everything in there. These are the regular stuff. And whatever we added a participant, it's been recorded. This is blockchain for you. Okay. And so let's go ahead and create a transaction and we can do this by going into submit a transaction. Now here, so we are, as you can go back and we can go back and we can see, right, our commodity is identified by ABC. Trading symbol is our primary uh, trading symbol is our primary key and here the trading symbol is ABC. So therefore we're going to use this. Okay, so we're going to use this as ABC, ABC, and we are going to transfer this from trader 1 to trader 2. So we'll put trader 2. Okay, so I think everything looks good. Let's go ahead and submit it. And you got a submit transaction successful message over here. Now we'll go and check our all transaction. You can see there is an entry here of trade. So we can view this. Okay, so now you can see that everything, the new owner is trader 2 and ABC was the commodity, their asset, and you have the transaction ID and the timestamp. So we just made our first execution of a trade transaction, that is, and if you see this, this is your chain where you can see every record will be stored from start, and whenever we added participant or whenever we added asset or whenever we had a trade or transaction, so everything is there over here. Now if you go to commodities and just click on show all, you can see the current owner of the trade is trader 2, sorry, the commodity is trader 2. So trading with trading symbol ABC. Okay. Okay, so we were able to successfully test our business logic, and in the next video we are actually we'll get rid of this playground and create a business network which we can interact through our own application instead of through this playground sandbox. So thank you for watching and see you in the next video.